hello. Welcome back to the Triforce podcast. Welcome back. This is actually one that we're recording in advance because we're probably on holiday this week.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't change the tone of it too much. But we are going through your mailbox.
Oh, yes, that too.
Replies.
Mailbag. It's the mailbag, and so on.
Yeah. Have a happy mailbag.
This is where we listen to your complaints about the things we've said. And we will feel slightly bad and embarrassed about the things that we said and confused because we're really stupid. Please don't be that mean to us in the mailbag.
Yes, that would
If
be nice.
you have a complaint, then you can shove it up your... Please shove it up your... Please shove it up your ass.
Triforce!
Oh, man. What a theme song. We should... it's a
We
shame.
should do a proper version of that. It's probably a copywritten tune.
Well, you can just change a couple of notes and it's fine.
It's old,
I'm
though,
pretty
now.
sure we nailed it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's old. I'm sure that Warner Brothers or Hanna-Barbera or whoever it was
They're all dead
has it on
anyway.
lockdown.
They're long gone.
Very litigious. You're right. All right, well, let's get on with it. What we got?
All right. So this is, I'm just going to dive right in. Some of these I've
diving
read,
right in.
some of them I haven't. This is from Jake. Just wanted to email you in a story about a catastrophic event that befell me on account of your podcast.
Right.
Oh, dear.
Around 2 years ago, I was listening to the Triforce podcast around episode 80 or something, and you were having a talk about older cars and how reliable they are. Now, right away, I'm pretty sure this was more recent than 2 years ago, but we'll see. Pyrian then asked the listeners, if you're listening to this and are driving an old, reliable car, give your dashboard a tap to say thank you. Being a good Triforce listener, I did as I was told, as my 2009 Toyota has been very reliable. How could I
Okay,
have been
come
so
on. That's
foolish?
not an old vintage
That's not an
car.
old car. But I was just saying, if that's a 13-year-old car. It's done its job. As he's tapping it, as I leant across to tap the dashboard, a bend came out of nowhere and I dramatically lost control. Suddenly I was off the road, in a ditch, and very shook up. Was I overconfident with my ancient car? Was Triforce to blame? After a call to the RAC and taking a hit to my pride whilst being winched out of the ditch, my car was off for repairs and a new number plate. My pride, however, may never be the same. Well, I'm sorry, Jake, but if you can't drive and tap the dashboard without taking your eyes off the road and being aware of the bend in the road ahead of you, which on most British roads is very clearly signposted with those little arrows, those black and white arrows saying, go left, there's a fucking bend here. I don't know, you deserve what you got. I'm glad you didn't get hurt, and I'm sorry to hear that your car got
I'm
messed
guessing
up.
he wanted to lean forward, though, to tap the dashboard.
The
Because
dashboard's right there.
Well, no, but some people consider the dashboard to be a bit further forward, you know?
Not everybody's
And-
dashboard is where you expect it to be, much like those aliens on Star Trek 6 when they're in prison. Remember when he's like, kicks him in the knee and he's like, oh shit, that was my penis, actually?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're right.
Jake's dashboard was in the back seat.
It's a
You don't know.
Toyota. How different can it be? It's a dashboard.
Well,
it's the dashboard. He was reaching across the instrumentation panel to the bit below the window and tapping that, I bet. Just
reckon,
tap the
yeah.
dashboard. It's right in front of you. Right
Well,
next to your
listen,
hand.
Well, you don't
be
want to
foolish.
accidentally touch a button, though, you know, because that might throw a spanner in the works as well.
There's no
you know,
button that says deploy, crash, and ditch. Like, that's not a button. The worst you do is turn the AC on or change the radio station. Come on, Jake.
Well, Jake, we're glad that you're alive to tell the tale and that you weren't too busted up about it. But technically, a 2009 car is not a old vintage car. It's not reliable
that's
either.
where he went wrong. Is that what
It
you're
was
saying?
built in
He didn't listen correctly to the.
Yeah, it was built
Right.
in the era of throwaway mass manufacturing. So that one doesn't count. Well, we were talking about like really old handcrafted like box cars and stuff like that, you know, like your great grandfather would have been spending most of his free time assembling one in his garage or whatever, like after a long hard shift at the stapler factory.
Did I mention the tractors? How like people are going back and buying the old non-digital tractors because they're just, you can actually repair them and not send them back.
Yeah,
to
because
a
isn't
factory in some
there's
weird
like some
country.
component on farming equipment. It's like is it like a computer or something that is very popular to steal nowadays? Like people are stealing all this stuff.
Like people are running and stealing their GPS and stuff. Aren't they?
Yeah.
Right.
So now I think
Yeah.
they're opting for like some older, more reliable machinery. and not using like the GPS and stuff. You know, they're just using their farming instincts like we used to do. You know, we're going back to our roots.
I watched there was a Tom Scott video this week where he went out to this place in Germany, and this rich, back in the day, these rich Germans used to build water features, basically. Like
that was a good one.
Water parks. And the nice thing about it was all non-electricity based. It's
amazing.
It was all just
uses
gravity. And so they let this reservoir fill up, and then they would just, over the winter, when it was too cold to like go through the pipes and stuff, because it might freeze and bust them. So during the summers, you just go in and into a little shed and you turn all the cranks on, and it's like a 50-foot fountain comes out of that gravity power.
And the trumpets that sound as the water comes down the sluices. There's air pressure builds up because the water is displacing the air, and it comes out of these trumpets that go like that to announce the water fountain coming. Well, it's really cool.
Water's incredible, and I think it should be received that way with great fanfare.
I agree.
Whenever I have a shower,
clean running water. One day we won't have access to it, and we're gonna look back and we'll be like, "How come we didn't get the trumpets out every fucking time this stuff showed up?"
And people would be like, "They used to just have it coming out of fountains just for fun." Like, there was water everywhere, kids, and now it's just all clouds. Forever.
Now it's just all fallout.
Just burned away. Now it's just covered in radiation.
You gotta live in a bunker and just hope that you survive.
Fight the chuds for a sip of water, not the chuds.
We used to walk. We used to walk above ground, and we had clean water hailed by trumpets. So
now you have to fight those 5-armed chuds with your
super chuds,
the slavering
with your
chuds,
spiked carapace.
Take water. Please, Mr. Chud, I just want to drink. No, chud water, best water. Oh,
chud like to watch fountain spray.
Chud fountain, very good.
Man, we just wrote a better game than anything that was featured in the Summer Games Fest that was on recently. So, congrats, we've done it.
What, just
the
now?
best?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a game. That's real life, homie.
Yeah.
No, that's a game. Art imitates life. Flax.
Let's move on to the next one. This is from Ewan, and this is one of my favorite Triforce emails yet. Slipped over in the shower, tried to grab the water on the way down. That's the whole email.
Sure,
so, it conjures up an image of Ewan.
It's the safest thing to try to grab, right?
Just grabbing we've just bigged up water in a very major way, saying how great it is, but you can't grab it.
It's not sturdy enough to grab onto if you're mid-fall.
Ewan.
Yeah,
but I can imagine his brain.
Even the 5-armed chud wouldn't be able to grab onto the water.
Oh man, it could have been a lot worse though when you think about it. If you'd grabbed like the hose or the shower fitting and yanked that thing right off the wall, you would have a lot of trouble. Like
falling over in the shower isn't fun.
I'd rather
either.
just take the fall. Yeah,
maybe he was just trying to keep his balance. So I mean, and all he needed to do was grab a little thing and hold on. I don't think he would have ripped the whole thing out.
Come on.
I think you would. Like those things. Like if you try to grab. Like I don't know if you walk around your bathroom and think what in here is sturdy enough to really grab.
I do surprisingly do that more often than I'd like to admit. I'm in my bathroom. I'm just thinking, what the hell can I pull off the wall now?
It's a tough one.
I'm looking around. It's like a fucking playground in there. There's a million things that you could just wrench right off the wall.
You really could.
You don't even need to use a lot of force.
As you're reaching your age, you'll think that bathroom is looking more and more like a death trap.
Oh god, yeah.
Everything could kill you. There's slippery floor, the shower, the flipping. You could accidentally fall in the toilet and drown.
A bit of advice here. But it is something that might make you feel a bit depressed about the stage of your life that you've gone to. You could install some rails in your bathroom all over the place, inside the shower. Maybe install one of those little seats that you can sit down and use the shower that way. It's nothing to be ashamed of if you're 15 years old and you're falling over in the shower, whatever. Just get a couple of rails and a seat and stuff, and you're good to go.
If you're very clumsy, if you're a naturally clumsy person, then or uncoordinated, which is like most of us are. We're not pro athletes. My balance is pretty shit.
Well, I am, but yeah.
I've actually got like a rough. My bathroom, like my shower has a rough surface, which originally I was like, oh, this is horrible, but actually now I don't worry about slipping around in there.
Oh yeah, so, you got to have a rough surface.
Have you guys ever heard about people who pee in the shower? Because apparently there's something in your piss that's actually quite good for your feet.
It kills an athlete's foot, apparently.
If you do a piss in the shower, you will have like really soft,
I don't think we want to encourage people doing this. Some people get really annoyed about this, and if your partner finds out, you know, it can be. I mean, look, we've all done it, and we're all still here, and I don't have athlete's foot, so I guess it's worked.
I feel like it's a gateway to just like taking a full dump in the shower, but I'm trying to think of like what the benefits of doing that are.
I don't know if it's a gateway. I think that's like that's such a fallacy.
Everything's a gateway. Come on.
Yeah, I suppose.
Man.
Yeah.
All right, I've got this email is good. This is 4 quick stories that are all toilet related, which is right in the wheelhouse of the Triforce.
That's
podcast.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all outdoor portable toilet related stories. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So here's the first one. English woman in porta potty teleported across a festival. So she gets in it to use it, and a forklift picks it up to move it to the other side of the festival, puts it down,
Holy shit.
and she then gets out. So she was not injured, but she suffered a bit of shock. This is.
She realized it was being moved at the time, right?
I assume if you were in it, and suddenly you hear beep, boop.
Wouldn't they hear her screaming in there? Because she would be fucking screaming, right? Like she'd be like, "Get me the fuck out of this thing!" Like
here's the thing. I bet they're wearing those headphones for health and safety because of the noise of the forklift. They have to wear the headphones. The things are they're not. They can't hear a damn thing. So I reckon she's help. I'm in the pot. Also, she might be one of those people with a very light voice.
Maybe.
I mean, if I was trapped in there, I figure I could make enough noise. Or
Well, people also, remember, people don't react in the way you think they do. Like some people freeze like a deer in the headlights. Other people
freeze like a woman in a porta potty. They freeze.
Yeah. I would obviously be scared about the splashing of the.
That would be pretty bad. But I'm pretty sure I'd just slam the lid if that was the case.
Get the lid closed.
Get that lid down. Anyway. Here's another one. Guests at a music festival in Budapest discovered a secret rave taking place inside one of the event's portable toilets. Festivities were hidden behind in a secret passageway off the seemingly innocuous portable toilet, which served as a smelly portal to the celebration. So you just open the toilet, you just, and in you go, and it's like this secret doorway into a secret party.
Wow!
I don't know if the party was toilet themed.
What do you do if you still need a shit?
We'll go to another one, I guess. You don't want to use the party toilet.
Man, oh man!
It's like a queue of people trying to get into the secret party. There's one guy like blocking the whole queue up. Just I'll be done in a minute. Just give me a minute.
I'll be done in a minute. Oh man!
They're all like all these exclusive cunts going to their VIP section.
I love that. It's like the secret garden, but like a rave and a toilet instead of whatever happens in the secret garden. I think it's just they move some vines out of the way or whatever, and there's like a doorway into some magical place.
I mean, it's not a great doorway to a party, a toilet.
No. But I guess the police. Well, they get a tip though, wouldn't they? You know, it's not like it's hiding it somehow. It's not like you give the police tip and they'd be like, "Oh, pull the other one, mate."
Here's another one then. In Stockport, police got a call to investigate a strange device discovered in an outdoor portable toilet. To their surprise, it was a live World War II bomb.
Wow!
And they just removed the device and set it off safely in a nearby park.
How did that get in there?
I guess it maybe got I don't know.
They dug a hole.
Yeah.
I bet it was one of these organic toilets where
they dig up the soil and stuff like that.
Yes, once you've done a poo, you have to put a little trowel of soil in.
I bet it was that. So they just had some soil in there and there was a freaking bomb. All right, here's another one. An Australian janitor discovered $93,000 had been flushed down the pipes of a portable toilet, and when they turned it into the police, the fair-minded judge ruled that he could keep $76,000 of it while the rest went to the state. These are all from Lachlan. Thank you, Lachlan, who is himself Australian. Or themselves Australian.
So
good finds.
He found money in the portable toilet,
yeah.
Well, it was probably like crime money. You know, he would probably have some gangsters after himself.
Crime money, yes. Crime money.
You know, they didn't want to say drug money, but I'm assuming it was likely that. But it's probably some sort of dodgy money. So there was some sort of drop going off that was not a toilet-related drop. It was a cash-related drop.
Well, and talking of criminals and drops,
is he still alive? That guy I
couldn't tell you. But if you want to know whose money it might have been, here's a possible answer, Lewis. Dear Pyrian, in massive capital letters, and then the rest of it is in normal case. My name is Molly, and I'm originally from Vancouver, but spent
Right.
the last 2 years in Ottawa going to university there.
Hey.
The following is actually a question I have for Sips, as I know who grew up in Ottawa. There is a restaurant near my house called Hog's Back Family Restaurant, which has been there for ages.
Right.
It's an old pizza restaurant that looks like a front for the mob, and always has a bunch of old Italian men in wife beaters standing outside of it and hacking darts. I say this with love, but the place is a bit of a shithole, and as soon as you walk inside, you get blasted with the stench of cigarettes that have been marinating in the walls for 50 years.
Yes.
Like I said, the place is definitely old, so I'm sure it's been there since Sips was a kid. Wanted to know if you'd heard of it.
No, I've never heard of it, and I've never been to anywhere like that before. And if you speak to my lawyer about it as well, he'll also confirm that that's the case.
There you go. Sorry, Molly.
But no, I've never heard of this place.
Why is your name on the deed?
There's there are some like old kind of like classic restaurants and stuff still kicking around in Ottawa, I guess, though, like depending what part of the city you live in. I'm assuming if you're going to university there, then you live in and around Sandy Hill, which would make sense. It's an old neighborhood. So, but no, I've never been. I've never even
I think
heard
one
of
of the things I've noticed about this sort of stuff is that sometimes people go into autopilot after a while, and like their life has taken over because they've had kids and they have to take the kids to school, and then they got grandkids, and there's this whole thing where they're so busy and so in routine that they just keep going. You know, as long as that restaurant's still making money and they're not unhappy, they'll just keep on fucking going. And
I think if you
bought
bought
of that,
if you bought if you bought this establishment a long ass time ago when it was like probably cost pennies to straight up buy the premises and just keep operating, and you have a really loyal customer base, it just becomes your life, right?
You know what they're going to order every day, right?
Yeah.
Like when
it's never a business that's like packed full. It's never a thing that you're like reinventing it constantly. You're trying to sell it or trying to open a second one or any of that. Yeah, it's always just a sort of family run like thing that's just they just do it and they're happy, you know.
We had a place like that in Twickenham not until a couple of years ago. It got shut down because they had rats in the kitchen, and the health inspector said, "You got to shut this down. You guys are done." But it's now reopened as somewhere else. So yes, but they'd been there for a very. Were
they
long
the chefs? Because that shouldn't. They're very good.
Yeah, the rats were cooking. Yeah, they did a really, really good ratatouille. Really good.
Oh,
anyway.
nice.
That's from Molly. So she says that her and her
there.
sister have huge vaginas. So congratulations to Molly and her sister.
Thanks for letting me.
Lucky.
Well, that's I have a tiny penis. You're not commenting on, but the huge vagina. Suddenly, you've got a problem. Come on.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I'm jealous. Actually, I wish I had one.
Okay.
Huge one.
Anyway, here's one from Mike from Ohio. Hey lads, in episode 222, listen. Don't be specific about which episode, because we don't remember and we don't care, all right? Just say, you guys mentioned, and we might remember that, but we don't need specific details of episode numbers. I get a lot of emails that start off that way.
We have no name, we don't know how many we've done at all. I
mean, if you told me this was episode 807, I would believe you.
Could I get a time slice from 222, and I can probably tell you exactly what we were saying?
Time slice. That would be something that was served at the Hog's Back Pizza Emporium.
Lewis said he bought a journal to handwrite about his day with
this is recent.
This is really recent.
Yeah,
such as what he ate that day. So there's an iPhone app I've been using for at least 8 years called Reporter. There's basically a digital journal and snapshot. Every day I journal twice, when I wake up and when I go to bed. You can create custom prompts such as...
Hang on. What do you mean? What have you got to talk about when you just woken up? Like
your dreams
that you didn't write about when you went to bed.
To listen to the rest of the email, Lewis.
Sorry.
You do all of your mental processing at night when you're asleep, so maybe you wake up with a freshened perspective on things that you then feel like you need to catalog.
Or,
all right.
I'll get into it. You can create custom prompts such as, how much money did you spend today? What did you eat for breakfast? Is the sky blue? That's my code prompt for, did I have a wank today? Which I think is worth recording. I also use it to document dreams I've had. There you go, Lewis. It's fun to use and see the data from the last 8 years. It's handy to know I've watched American Dad on 573 separate days and had eggs for breakfast on 284 days.
Jeez, that's a lot of eggs for breakfast.
Well, that's 8 years.
Man,
this is cool.
I don't think I've had eggs for breakfast more than 5 times this year.
Like, where are you? Who are you with? Are you working? Like these are the like little questions you can add.
Who's your daddy? Like, what does he do?
I guess you could incorporate the step counting in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Step counting, yeah, you could probably mention a quick mention to your Fitbit in there too, or maybe even integrate it into the app.
Yeah, I quite like Google Timeline thing, going back and looking and being like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that, and it sort of cements in your mind when things happened. Otherwise, it all just feels like, I mean, the past is quite a nebulous thing, isn't it? And sometimes you've really got to work to figure out when something was, even if it wasn't that long ago.
Man,
let me just find this out before I ask the question. So here we go. When do you think the Nintendo Wii came out?
I think the Nintendo Wii came out in like 2009.
Lewis?
Whew, I reckon it was earlier than that. I reckon it was like 2004.
It was 2006. Now, I remember buying one when they first came out. It was quite a struggle for me to place where I was, because I can remember going to buy it.
Man.
And I can remember, like, they were sold out everywhere, and I found a place at Howard, and I begged them to hold on to it for me.
What was the first thing you did with your Nintendo Wii?
Oh, I fucking shagged it. Senseless, mate.
Nice.
What do you think? I played a game on it.
No, what was your first experience? So, like, you brought it home, opened it up, and played what on it? Like,
probably the Wii Sports.
Okay. Because the first time I ever played a Nintendo Wii was at work. I worked in an office, and we had like they fucking like team building shit they do, like we had like, it was like a fun Friday, like the last hour of Friday. They had like a whole meeting room booked out, and so like my whole department got to go and just like drink pop and eat chips, and there was a Wii there with Wii bowling, and people were like getting really competitive playing it. That's the first time I ever played a Nintendo Wii. It's so depressing.
I recall playing one because I got the Wii Fit board, which was obviously terrible.
Yeah.
But I remember because it was when I was at home after uni, my mum just used it every day. She loved that Wii.
Yeah.
So I bought this Wii, and I hated the fucking thing, and I think I used to bowling on it once or whatever, and then never played it again. But my mum was all over it. She loved it.
The reason I bring it up is because my daughter, my eldest, saved up her money and bought a secondhand Wii that arrived yesterday, so that she could play. Because we had a Wii, and we got rid of it. We sold it years ago, but we still had the old games knocking about, like Super Mario Galaxy 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she bought a Wii so she could play these games, and I think her plan is to trade it in at CEX and get something else. So she just bought it. She was like, "Oh yeah, I've just ordered a Wii." She saved up her pocket money and everything.
She's doing something that I've done
for
30 quid. It was 30 quid.
Oh, fair enough.
Which is not bad.
Which is fuck all, actually. So this is a thing that when I left home, and my mum sold all my shit when I went to uni, especially all of my like Warhammer stuff and the game consoles and everything. And so over the past like 10, 15, even 20 years, I've been buying buying my childhood back.
Buying it all back,
trying to find stuff. So I've bought like some of these SNES games that I played, and some of these N64 games that I played.
A lot of that stuff
really
you can just get on the Nintendo shop now, like through your Switch.
Yeah, you can. But it's something
she
nice
likes the controller. The Wii controller was genuinely a great controller.
30 quid sounds amazing, because some of these old games, like, you wouldn't even think. You look at it and you think this old fucking Xbox game or PS game is worth fuck all, right? It's worth £1, but actually some of them are pretty rare, and collectors want. Some people are collecting every Xbox game, for example.
Right. Yeah.
They want these rare games, and they're like, no, not even that rare games. They're just a shit game that came out. They just only did 2,000 of them or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they're worth like 60, 80, 100 quid.
Yeah.
For a fucking Xbox game that you think would be absolutely worthless. It's mad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there is a market, and certainly for like mint condition, like N64 games, like even like trying to get a copy of Secret of Mana, because that game was like 60 quid back in the day.
Right, yeah.
And so like you can't really get a good quality copy of that for less than that price.
That
now.
was a cool game.
So here's the
was a
other
cool
thing
game.
is, I feel like when we think about retro gaming, when I think back to there was a certain period, and I think it was around that period with the Wii, where the games and the graphics were good enough that it doesn't feel like you're playing something from ancient history. Like if I've tried playing, or even just looking at old Commodore 64 games and Atari 2600, and you can buy that thing where it's got all these hundreds of games, and you play them and you realize these are dog shit. Like there's very little replayability to them. It's a pure nostalgia for 5 minutes, and then you think, I can see why this got replaced. But Super Mario Galaxy 2, that is genuinely still a great game.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when we go to CEX or somewhere like that, and they've got those old Wii games, they'll be like £1, £2. So she can go ham, and I know that she she thought the version of Smash that was on the Wii was her personal favorite, and she was like, we had it, but they of course they were younger. I mean, much younger when we still had a Wii.
Again, even like on the eShop, you can't buy like that old version. Like Super Mario Galaxy 2, I'm sure is not £1 on the eShop, is it?
No,
it's like
I'm sure
no, 35 for £40.
Yeah,
right.
It's more
so you can get
it
if you go. I mean, those ones tend to have a bit more of a price, sort of longer tail on them, where they're probably still £8 or something. But if you go to CEX and you look in the Wii section, it's like the bargain bin. I mean, you can get, but everything's there, and the games are still good enough that even though you've played a modern console or a really good modern PC game, these games are still great games.
Yeah.
And they're not so dated that you're like, oh my God, this is agonizingly ugly and painful.
I think
I think it's a really good idea for
I mean, when you think of, I saw this the other day, when you think of an old Mario game, what do you think of? Like a classic Mario game?
I think of maybe the original Mario Brothers game, which is
the first one
still pretty fucking playable.
What do you mean? You think of the original Mario Brothers game?
Yeah.
Yes, if you say Mario, that's what I think of. Maybe Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES, where the one where you could turn into a fox that shoots fire out of his tail.
A classic.
If you immediately mention Mario, I think of the Super Mario World on the SNES.
Yeah,
but
it's so interesting because I think of Mario 64, and it is a generational thing. But
I never played that.
The weird thing is that people
great.
say, I saw, because there was a post on Reddit, I might have even talked about this before, but there was like someone saying, what a classic Super Mario game, and it was Super Mario Galaxy 2. And I was like, what are you fucking talking about? That came out like yesterday. No, it came out in 2010.
Man, Zoomers are nostalgic about things that happened like 2 years ago.
But that came out 12 years ago. Super Mario Galaxy 2 came out 12 years ago. That feels to me like a really recent Mario game. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
What worries me is if they're getting retro about things like, oh my God, do you remember the iPhone 6 or whatever?
Yes.
It's like, guys, you're rushing into middle age. Like they're going to be 40, they're going to be my age when they're 21. I'm so old. Oh my God, they're zooming.
That's what they're saying, though.
Middle age. It's tragic.
They're like, is that why they're called Zoomers?
I think it is.
I'm 25 today. I'm so old. Okay. Like, why don't you actually be fucking old and then come back to me on that one? Like, that
really bugs me. That really fucking bugs me.
I guess it's like saying that Skyrim, because that came out 2011, right? Or Mass Effect 2, which we talked about, came out 2010 as well. And so do we consider Mass Effect 2 like as like a super old classic?
No. I mean, it's a really great game. It is a classic game. But I wouldn't call it
Bioshock.
Ancient.
When do you think Bioshock came out?
The original Bioshock.
First Bioshock must have come out in like 2006 or something.
2007. Very close. It was very close. And I mean I consider that to be a pretty fucking old game, but I
would say Half-Life would be properly old because that was when I was at university. That's like 25 years old. That game. What
about Half-Life 2, though? When's Half-Life 2 was really where it was at, I think.
Yeah, no, Half-Life 2 was astounding. Well, I was living here, I want to say 2003, 4?
2004. Yeah, well done. Yeah. I mean, that was really... God, I mean, I play Garry's Mod every week.
Yeah, you do,
multiple times. And that's nearly 20 years old.
Yeah. It's such a shame Valve haven't kept making games. Come on, Valve guys. I mean, look, you create games that people are still classic.
Half-Life Alex.
You played Alex yet?
No, I haven't played it. But
it's meant to be really good.
It's basically gatekeeped behind very expensive technology.
And isn't they did a new
Dota 2 they did. Have you heard of that?
What's the Portal job simulator VR thing that they did recently?
But
as
again,
well?
VR,
although that's
again,
not really.
VR. I'm just saying, let's do another game. Like,
That's
out
like
there,
the game's like a 5-minute tutorial for the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
so
but that's going to be
actually
something that they'll probably build on, right? They'll probably do something else around it.
I don't know. Valve do like to make a game to promote their technology.
Yes.
I mean, that's why they made Alex. It was to promote their Index or whatever the VR thing is. And that's why they made that little portal-y thing for the Steam Deck, just to kind of be like, oh, we made this cool thing to show off what you can do.
They made Dota Underlords.
The Dota Underlords was abandoned like 2 years ago. So
Yeah, well, the whole auto chess thing was not as big as people thought it would be.
The problem with Valve, as we know from when we went there, Sips, is that they don't have any staff. They're not a big a big industry. They're not a AAA studio with hundreds of people. Blizzard, they lay off 300 people every fucking month because they hire 600 people every other month.
Yeah.
The same thing with Riot. They've got like 5,000 fucking people working at Riot, and they make fucking League of Legends. Valve's fucking Dota 2 team is like 4 guys in hoodies. And that's it.
Yeah.
That literally is it. And they've been there for 10 years. Those guys, like, and they've got no one new, no one leaves.
Riot have a couple of games now.
They're completely like unresponsive, but it doesn't matter because that's how all tech companies operate. It's the same thing with YouTube. It's all automated. Think about the last time you were able to fucking talk to someone at YouTube. You constantly see this bad PR, and the reason is because people have to fucking go on Twitter to be like, oh, my YouTube account got banned. Oh, help me, someone. They yell into the void. And then finally it gets sort of retweeted and picked up and everyone gets angry about it. And someone at YouTube fucking gets off their ass from browsing whatever furry subreddit they were checking out.
Oh, my God.
And
this is all.
It goes to r/all. And it's like, uh-oh, better unban this guy.
Jeez.
All right, let's get back to the mailbag because that's a good old 10-minute rant.
That was a real rant. Holy crap.
All right.
Jesus.
That's all right.
Today's episode is sponsored by Expressvpn. You can protect yourself and change your online location on your phone and iPad and computer to watch extra television on Netflix and other streaming websites. When I was in Greece, by the way, I didn't actually change my iPad over, and now it's all in fucking Greek.
Oh my God.
If I'd actually bothered to use Expressvpn, which I have installed and I do use, it wouldn't have accidentally changed everything over.
Did it Greekify your name? Luisio Brindley-Upaloopoulos.
I think my name's already probably quite Greek. You can use Expressvpn to unblock Netflix and other streaming services and access movies. Like the other day, I googled what the best movies on Netflix were, and obviously half of them weren't in the UK.
Right.
But I could just change my location and watch them, which was great. I didn't notice I was connected. I love Expressvpn. I use it for all sorts of downloading to keep myself private. It works on all your devices. You can use it on your TV. It's got like 94 different countries you can change to. It works with like BBC iPlayer, so if you're in the US, you can
watch your EastEnders. You can watch your stories.
Exactly.
What if you missed an episode of Strictly Come Dancing? It's Strictly season now. We're
there you go.
Going up to the Christmas finale. You don't want to miss an episode of that.
Exactly. So get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/Triforce. You could use the link expressvpn.com/Triforce to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Thank you very much. On with the show.
This is from J.S. Lewis, who's done some animations of the Triforce, so I think it would be nice to read an email out. My old friend Peter, we were talking about things that kids were forced to study.
Right.
My old friend Peter from secondary school genuinely hated Shakespeare and was very vocal about it. Whenever we had to read through Romeo and Juliet for GCSEs, he honest to God looked like he was contemplating life. I don't know what the hell happened between then and now. It's been a long time, went to different sixth forms and different unis, but he went on to get a degree in English literature and focused his studies on none other than the works of William Shakespeare. When I found out, I was surprised, and when I last checked his social media, it seemed like he was obsessed. I guess making kids study these things can be a good thing.
What?
Yeah. Who really knows what they want to do at the age of 15, 16? J.S. Lewis saying that this kid, I hate Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Once he got into it, it's become his life.
I hated broccoli when I was a kid, and I eat it all the goddamn time now. Like, it's kind of the same, right? When you're a kid, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't know, some of your takes are pretty bad, and your opinions suck, and my favorite band is better than your favorite band, and all that kind of stuff. And then you become an adult, and you change your mind. It's like, I
think this is what happens with us with some games too, because back in the day, you'd buy a game very expensive and you play it and you'd hate it, right? But because you didn't understand, you didn't know what you were doing, it was hard to get into, whatever. But then it became your favorite game ever because once you'd sort of mastered and got past and got through that veil of frustration and noobishness, you know, you were able to really enjoy a game. And I think like somewhat changed gaming now, I think. It's why there's this big focus in gaming of like retention, right? And the idea that everyone, when you sell a game on Steam, you can see how long everyone's played it for, how long how much refund rate is, and there's all these little metrics so that you track like how sticky or interesting your game is. You know, you can see that like, oh, so this game, you know, the average playtime for this playtest was 15 minutes, whereas this game, the average playtime was 2 hours. So you know, this game must have a much better onboarding, and there's all these stupid little terms that are used to try and get people hooked, really. And it's really interesting, and it's in a sense like it is satisfying to. Like, I'm sure this happens with chess as well. Like, you know, I'm sure the first time everyone plays chess, they're like, fuck this game. I don't understand. Why would I want to learn this? Like, ugh, it's annoying. But then, like, I think the deeper you go into it, the more it kind of pays off. And I think that's maybe the case with Shakespeare. Like, I can imagine a guy really hating Shakespeare and kind of being like, what the fuck are we, why are we wasting our time on this? Like, I can totally see that sentiment. But then I can see also, like, him being taken to one side and being given, like, the inside information. You know, like, if you read Shakespeare, you can go through the back of the toilet into the secrets.
It's interesting to think about chess and like modern games and stuff too, because I feel like chess you can almost separate it from any other modern games because it's been around for so long. But chess is something you can learn at a young age because you probably have people in your family that can teach you how to play it, right? Your mom and dad probably have played it. Your grandparents probably played it. You might have like a great grandparent.
It's one of those dumb games that is so prevalent in the sense that Scrabble and Monopoly are as well, and you learn those as a kid, even though they're shit. Yeah, chess is just, it's nice that it has this enormous history. And I wonder moving forward, you know, what will be the thing that all kids know, you know, what will be the tradition.
Super Mario, right? Like it can happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but like
the thing with modern chess, and I think the reason that kids will always be taught chess is, first of all, some parents see it as a mark of intelligence and a way to say, my kid is in the chess club, and so they push their kids into it. But it's also, a lot of chess is about study. In fact, I'd say the bulk of it is about study. Studying opening moves, studying responses, watching games, seeing what people did. And then also nowadays using like Stockfish and things like that to analyze what the best move is and try and figure out why, and looking for the different routes and memorizing not just openings, but patterns that you can see. That
chess is still as big as it is, given that there's such an easy way to cheat. And cheating is almost considered part of the game now, to the point where there was this one guy who was accused of cheating for winning a tournament. But then when they analysed his game, they were like, oh, well, he's actually missed this move that if he was following a cheat engine, they would have told him to miss this move. But it's such an odd, they basically worked it out by saying that only an AI would have made this move. A human would not have, because it was such an odd move. It was like literally moving his rook into the back left corner. Do you know what I mean? Right. Which is such a bizarre move that you wouldn't even consider necessarily doing it, right? And so it was like they almost showed that he didn't cheat because he didn't do the best move, which is really weird that we've come this far.
Do you know what? And this kind of stuff would never happen, and hopefully one day chess is overtaken by this. Portal 1 no glitch speedrunning, I think, is the future, right? Because you can really build the rules to be very specific around all that.
I can't stand the glitch speedruns. Fuck them.
The glitch speedruns are.
I also don't really like the constant fucking pausing of the timer every time someone goes to a black screen or whatever, or a loading screen, right? And I understand why, but people abuse it by going back to the main menu or F4ing the game. Do you know what I mean? Anytime I see that, I'm like,
they're gaming the game. Have you ever watched a Factorio speedrun? They take about 5 hours. I think the world record's like 5 hours and a bit. It's really interesting though. And there's a couple of like big time Factorio speedrunners as well. Like you can watch them on Twitch. There's a couple of good big YouTubers who do this thing where they do a 6-hour or 12-hour game cut down into like 30 minutes. And that's the thing on YouTube now, which I think has become the norm to see, right? Is like
people making a table or people, building a house or digging a hole or doing something in 30 minutes, with them sort of doing a little commentary of it.
Sure, but Factorio is a game where when you get past, getting iron out of the ground and smelting it, your brain just starts to melt, right? Like thinking about how you need to scale and fit things in or whatever.
It is great watching people.
So watching somebody do all that in 5 hours is kind of nuts, right?
Well, I think it's got multiple layers though, right? One, it's like giving you, it's a game you love seeing, and you're like, how have you broken it? So it's like almost like a detective thing. First of all, then it's the second level is that it's going to teach me some tricks that I can use in my game.
Yeah,
and then the third level is like it's just interesting to see what usually is a very, very slow experience being done with the boring bits cut out. And so it's almost like you don't have to play the fucking game; you can just enjoy it in half an hour in a much more bite-sized version.
Yeah,
and I just think like that's so appealing in like so many, and it's definitely got that speedrun energy. It might not be a speedrun, but it's got the same like vibe. And often speedrunners are pretty don't want to
yes,
they're not the most charismatic.
Come on,
here it comes.
What?
Come on.
Well, the problem is if you're obsessed with, I don't know, Bubsy or some fucking game that you've only played for the last 10 years every fucking day and you're the king of speedrunning it.
The thing is, they're doing it. It's like a challenge, right? Like it's not. I don't think it's for the love of Bubsy the game. Like it's just like they've picked a game that's
fuck Bubsy.
Okay,
I think you are right about the platformer, though. I think that is our generation's chess, right? Like every kid has played a platformer, right? A 2D platformer, and every kid should be familiar with it from now until eternity. I mean, the 2D platformers are so abundant on. I think they are the most made game on Steam, but also the least bought game on Steam. They're one of these things that is actually
there's too many of them.
Yeah, there's
far too many, and it's so hard to be original. I mean, I guess that's where Hollow Knight and these Metroidvania style games have really innovated, and they're great.
I don't know.
And there's also the precision ones are the other version.
It's odd. I don't want to play a new game like that. I don't want to play a platformer, but I will quite happily go back and play, for nostalgic reasons, a platformer that I've played like as a kid or whatever. Like I played through Mega Man 2 somewhat recently.
Well, there's some brilliant games that are platformers that you like. Hollow Knight, for example. Yes, look, it's a people say it's a Metroidvania, but it's a 2D platformer really in its core.
Gentlemen, if I may.
Sorry,
can we steer back to the podcast?
Let's move on
about the mailbag.
I'm just saying that don't jade yourself, Sips.
Right.
You should still play games based on how good they are and story and stuff, and not whether it's a genre.
Including Bubsy?
Especially Bubsy.
Okay.
All right. This is from Jackson. They're an American who's coming to the UK. I was intrigued by the mention of you looking for shithole places around England on stream, which is what I did. I went on stream and I went on Google Street View and went to what people in chat said was a bad neighborhood in the place where they lived and looked around. Some of them were dreadful. Macclesfield, for example, was absolutely terrible. So he says that they'll be studying abroad in the fall in England. They're an American college student, and they'll be doing a research project on places in the UK racked by industrial blight in the North and the Midlands while I'm over it in your lovely country. Well, if we could think of places in the UK, I'm sure there are a bunch of British listeners here saying, oh, fucking hell, mate, you should try coming to Scarborough or whatever. Places that I think are historically racked by industrial blight would be the whole of the Northeast. I think that would be a pretty good place to start. Places like Middlesbrough and Sunderland that have just been decimated.
Were those all big-time coal mining places?
I think they were just in general big industrial centres. I mean, if you go around the Midlands itself, I know Sheffield is a really good example because, I mean, when I went there, although people always tell you, there's some nice bits of Sheffield. When you've lived in the South your whole...
You're not knocking Sheffers.
Live. I am going to knock Sheffield. I'm going to tell you...
Sheffers.
The Sheffers was once a thriving industrial city and has now fallen on the hardest of times that you could see somewhere like that fall on. It is blighted, genuinely blighted by poverty and just decay. And if you go down to the town centre, you will just see, this was maybe 10 years ago and I was there. Maybe it's had a massive resurgence. I doubt it. It really everything was boarded up and shut down and shit, and everybody just looked poor and miserable. Sheffield is a really good example because it used to be Sheffield Steel and they made stuff there and it was like a thriving community, and now it's not. And there are tons of places around there like that. I also think if you think about somewhere like Blackpool, somewhere like Skegness is a good example. These were places that were once seen as like holiday resorts for the north, and people would go there and they were, you know, thriving towns and everything like that. I mean, Booth's from Blackpool, isn't she? She's always saying how shit it is. It's not great. Like these areas that used to be British holiday resorts, people can now get a cheap flight to Spain and they do that rather than go on holiday in the UK. So those towns have suffered greatly as well. So there's not just industrial, but tourism-based places that were coastal and have fallen on very hard times. And they all seem to be in a big line. If you can draw a pretty straight line between Blackpool and Skegness, and I'd say everywhere around there has suffered greatly. So that's an answer to that question.
The north, the traditional north.
The north.
I think it's I don't know. It's easy to be negative about these things, and it is easy to see the decline of the high street as, you know, people and traditional shopping. You know, I think the online, you know, the juggernaut of Amazon has taken so much.
Yeah.
From small businesses and shops and stuff. And dude, talking about like the Hogs restaurant, that thing probably is doing fine because people still go out for meals as long as
do you think you can get a Deliveroo from that
but
place? Maybe they've gone into they've entered the now, you know, maybe they're linked up, maybe they're on the food delivery network.
This is the old complaint, isn't it, that we same in America, that we've changed from a productive society, that we're making things, to a consumptive one where we're buying everything from China and wherever makes it cheaper.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it becomes this sort of slow drain on, and it means that we have to make up for it in things like the financial sector or the service sector and or more making, you know, other things like movies or doing different things, making games. And that's why a lot of countries have put a lot of government funding into the arts industries. Look at South Korea's like kind of incredible cultural exports.
Yeah,
like their K-pop and their K-dramas and movies. You know, it's because the government has put so much work.
I mean,
into
I don't know if Sweden do something with games, because any Swedes, go ahead and write in, because I know that whenever I go to Stockholm, there's a ton of games companies in Stockholm.
Well,
and
here's
Sweden
the thing that's
general.
really interesting. You know, we're obviously talking about games because I'm always sort of talking about games because we're looking at sort of publishing games now, and there's a huge amount of money out there that people, especially governments, are throwing at people. Like Canada is throwing. Yeah,
with some of these places, it's incentivized, right? It's like it's why like a lot of
you can apply for a grant to make a game in some countries, and you know, there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of infrastructure in like in Ireland for like payment processing and stuff like that, because I think they just subsidized a lot of these big companies. They gave them big tax breaks and stuff so that they would choose there to set up, because it's just a big boost to the local economy, right? It's jobs for people.
Yeah. Well, there have been some talks about this to avoid what's called a race to the bottom, though, because if you're not careful, you know, everyone just starts undercutting each other, and then no one's paying any tax. You know,
right.
And so there's talk about having like a global, or at least the EU limits on what the lowest tax bracket should be.
Yeah.
To try and stop this kind of idea of the fucking, what they call those islands, the Virgin Islands or whatever, or
or those
BVI
tax havens. Yeah. Why do those still exist? Like, what the fuck?
I don't know.
It drives me mad. Anyway.
And especially because all the people who are running them are terribly corrupt. I think one of the guys in
just
charge
got nicked the other day.
Went to prison, didn't he, for
corruption,
drugs? I think.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. On a lighter note, this is a more of a visual email, so it'll require my narration skills for you guys, because it involves a photograph. We spoke about sheds and the difference between whether a shed. I said that there was a difference between a shed that's a dump, where you just put things, and one that is a well-appointed and well-tended workshop, which is quotes, so I must have said that. So this is from Charlie, and Charlie has sent in a picture. Now, I'm going to describe this shed to you guys, okay?
Can you just post it in Discord so we can see it?
Oh, I can, yes, I can.
I mean, I'm not knocking your narration.
It's not for us, Sims, it's for the fucking audience.
Yeah, I know, but I think it'd be helpful if I could see this shed, because I'm really interested in this kind of stuff.
I'm doing it. All right, there it is. Shed.jpg.
Okay, all right. This looks like the kind of this looks like a very, very like assembly line type shed, right? Like you are doing
shed.
work in there.
Just to describe this to listeners, this is if I picture a shed, and most, especially in Britain, I would say because I mean maybe in the rest of Europe you have the same kind of sheds. The kind of shed that I'm talking about, which is just uses a dump, it's got a lawnmower and it's got a big pitchfork in and stuff, is barely tall enough to stand up in. They're normally made of what looks like really cheap, dark paneling that's just like rubbishy wood.
Yeah.
They might have a tiny, shitty window with plastic glass in it.
It's got that crappy rubberoid shit on the roof.
Basically what you could do is you step into the shed and then you could spin around like in a VR game, but you can't actually step anywhere else.
There's no movement, And once you put a couple of large things in there, you're in big trouble. You couldn't comfortably fit a bicycle in here.
That's right. You can't really get a bike in there.
Cobwebs everywhere. What we have been saying here, this is a workshop, okay?
Yeah, this is a workshop.
It's got proper wooden boarded floors, proper wooden walls that are clearly sealed to the elements. It has a strip light running across the center of the joist in the middle of the roof. Then, on the left-hand side...
this is bigger than this is bigger than your garage, Sips.
This is not bigger than my garage.
On the left, there is a proper, nice, what looks like a pine workbench with a vise and tools neatly laid out. Above that, there is a shelf, one of those shelves with holes in so you can slot tools into it. There's like cloths and things. There's a shelving area with all the little pull-out drawers where you keep all screws and nuts.
Yeah.
Then on the end, there's a big panel board, one of those ones where you can adjust the height of all the little shelves and screws and things.
It's a big workshop,
Saws.
yeah.
He's got a whole thing just with files hanging on it. Then on the right, a lovely long pine wooden workbench with a little filing cabinet style drawer system underneath it where you can keep all different bits. There's some jugs of solutions.
Yeah.
There's a little lathe looking thing, or it looks like a drill actually. No, there's a lathe and a drill, I think. This is a workshop.
He's got a little cabinet underneath that table on the right there with drawers for like screws and bits.
That's the little filing cabinet one, exactly. Yeah. And there's a proper bar stool for sitting down. This is a workshop.
Do you know what? Do you know what this is missing? Actually,
go on.
Writer in. You need one of those integrated suction systems for all the sawdust and stuff. You know, like it's like the tubes go. You could get the tubes like up in that left siding, like where the wall meets the roof sort of thing. You get the tubing up there and then just get maybe even put like the cylinder outside. And then when you're in there doing your woodworking, it can be just sucking up all the sawdust as you go. It'd be perfect. Got to wear a mask in there too, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
this is a workshop. It's not a shed.
It is. I want one of these. It looks like it smells nice of wood. It looks like a sort of lovely place to escape the wife.
Yeah.
And, my goodness.
I mean, my garage is not actually a garage. It's just a house extension, right? It's like when you're in here, you feel like you're indoors, like inside the house. You know, it's got like
there isn't it's not a garage space anymore. on any of the desks though. Like he's got like I reckon you could fit basically 2 sheets of A4 paper on the amount of wood that is free to work on.
Yeah,
it's like it's not a large workspace. It's so packed full of tools and shit.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing a lot of whittling in here, right? Or like you're doing like very like small specific things to wood. You're not like cutting big planks and stuff. Like
whittling.
Everything looks very small and specific. Like even like that little saw on the wall at the back. It's just like a tiny saw.
So what was the question about this?
Well, whether this was a shed or a well-appointed workshop, and I think Charlie's
this is a well-appointed workshop.
This is clearly a well-appointed workshop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Next email.
I don't see a spade or a lawnmower, so
this
it's
looks
not
like
a shed.
the kind of place that you're assembling like custom-made dollhouse furniture. Like what's his face on the wire?
Yeah.
It's very, very snazzy.
Yeah,
it's like some niche modern workshop for like maybe he makes like
Oh, you can make whatever the fuck he likes in there. I mean, he really could.
Hell yeah.
That's a proper
You can make Star Wars Galaxies Legends in here.
Easy.
Shit.
This is from Dan, and I suppose this will be the last one. And it's quite the image. So I recently got the flooring done in my house. By the way, Dan, when you send emails, if you could use black text instead of very light grey text on a white background, I'd appreciate that in the future. Just wanted to think about. I recently got the flooring done in my house, and the workers were 2 middle-aged men.
Right.
One of these guys kept bending down to the floor to do some work with the trimmings. However, whether intentionally or not, his arse was always pointing at me when I came to check on the progress, and I could see basically everything.
Wow.
This was not your regular plumber's crack. I mean, his entire full-blown hairy arse right towards me every time I came to check. It was quite disturbing. I can't help wonder why in the world this guy would not cover up. He must feel some kind of breeze.
Yeah.
And must know what he's doing. Could he be doing this on purpose, or maybe he just doesn't care anymore? Let me know what you think. This is an ongoing problem. I've had this before. I had a guy over to look at the boiler, and he was one of these guys. I mean, if I start to bend over, I know if some of my arse is showing or not. I don't know if your job involves so much bending down, you just end up not giving a shit. Whether it's a badge of honor, whether you are basically saying, I'm going to come and do this miserable, menial work for you, but you're going to have to look at my arse while I do it as some kind of revenge.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like it's a flex.
But this one guy he was quite a big guy, and he was bald. He had a little bit beard, but his arse, when he bent over to look at the boiler, it was like fucking like a blast of arse. Like, you can't miss it. Not a hair on it. It was as smooth as a baby's butt. And I was like, geez, this is the weirdest thing, because I expected like a big hairy plumber's arse.
Maybe he's...
And instead there's this bald arse. It was grim.
Maybe he uses Manscaped products.
He might
Maybe he's been grooming himself.
Well, let me tell you, he's going to run through some sets. He's going to run through a few batteries, because this was a big old ass. I don't know if the portable ass trimmer would be able to cover it. You need a fucking lawnmower.
There's a T-shirt you can get, which if builders can wear, which is like a woman with long hair, and her chest is just cut off above the cleavage, and the ass crack makes it look like it's cleavage.
Right.
God,
so
I don't want to see that, because it might change my opinion of boobs.
Man, can you get a pair? You got to be able to get a pair of boxer shorts with a print on the ass, which is like somebody's ass crack, right? So you're not actually showing your ass, but you've got a print on the back of your boxer shorts that looks like a bare ass. You know what I mean? So like you might be bending over, and your ass is firmly contained by your boxer shorts, but you can still project an ass crack.
Which is apparently important. I mean,
I don't get it. Part of the experience. You can't really.
You would know. These guys know.
Part of me is thinking that we live in this dick pic world now, and people do want to show these things off, and so there's a good chance that, especially if it's a guy plumber and a girl house, well, then again, he can't possibly think so. Maybe I don't know. Look, I don't think any builders are showing off their ass.
I just don't believe it.
I don't think the dick pic and the ass crack are the same.
No,
I
disagree. Yeah. Because there's no way a woman's going to be like, whoa, looking at a plumber's ass crack. Like,
there must be something you could say to them that, like crack is illegal or something like that. There must be some sort of joke you can make.
Yeah, but they just think it's funny. They go, hey, good one, mate. Oh, that was a good one. By the way, just look at my massive fucking ass crack.
I was carrying a load of stuff yesterday. I was like super scared that my ass crack was showing. You know? So I was like I'm very vigilant when it happens, but I guess, if it's a hot day, maybe getting the airing out is actually
it might just be part of like his own little cooling system or whatever. He's busy, he's working.
It's like the equivalent
cool
of
down
a fan.
Bit. Yeah, you just got to expose your ass a little bit. Some of them just don't give a fuck either.
It's fucking gross, and they should stop.
It's awful. I hate seeing it, I usually. I don't know. I think a lot of people wouldn't say anything, right? And it's
if the plumber came round and it was Carmen Electra and she was like working on your pipes and you could see her ass crack and stuff, you wouldn't be complaining, would you? You'd be like, oh, nice, holy crap! Well, what did I do to deserve this?
I would feel like I feel like really dirty about that, though. Do you know what I mean? If it was a woman's ass and I could see, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that either, but in a different way.
Well, there used to be.
Yeah, I'd feel like I was pervert.
It used to be.
Like somehow
I don't know. I can't remember
when
this was, but there was definitely a time where the fashion was to wear it was like low crop. I can't remember if it was jeans or whatever. But everywhere you went, you saw a woman's ass with a G-string, right? Like poking out of the top of like their pants.
They were sort of like not track pants, but they were like jogging bottom style pants.
Jeans
that's when
or something.
They all had the trap stamp across the back. And a G-string. That was the vibe.
That was a look at the time, right? Like you look back now and you think, what the hell was people
Okay,
thinking?
imagine this big fat builder comes round, right? And he's in your workshop and he's like installing a lathe or whatever, right? And he's bent down and his ass crack showing.
Yeah.
And you're staring
Yeah.
his ass crack, right?
Am I beating off as well or just staring?
No, you're just staring at
Right.
it. He turns around and sees you staring and is like staring at you.
Right.
And then you meet his
And
eyes.
then you start kissing. And that's when you start uncontrollably kissing. You're Frenching.
I think the answer just has to just be, if you see something like that, just avert your gaze immediately. Say, oh my goodness. Oh, would you like a biscuit?
Do you need a cup
Would you
of
like
tea?
a- would you like a biscuit?
I'm at the point in my life now where if somebody actually caught me doing that, I would just say, yeah, sorry, I was just looking at your ass crack. It was actually just.
That's like a me
fully-
thing, though. I do that. Actually,
fully
I actually
visible.
do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Lewis would just say.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, if your whole bare ass is sticking out while you're doing work or whatever, and you're in my house,
I
I
think,
might
you know
look
what I
at
mean?
it. I'm just saying.
I think some people might just have slightly higher asses. Do you know what I mean? And they just
What, and they're all plumbers?
show more easily.
They're all plumbers. Well, if you want to be a plumber, mate, first things first, let's have a look at your ass crack. No, that's much too low.
if they just stuck to the script and wore a workman's
You have to have surgery.
overall.
Wear overalls.
Yeah.
There you go.
They used to wear them all the time.
It's like back in the day when women had to have leg extensions or whatever to be tall enough to be an air hostess or whatever. They'd have
Leg
to
extensions, is that a thing?
No.
No, people were
Aren't
having
they just called
surgery
high
to make
heels?
themselves taller. Yeah, people were having an actual surgery. I'm
Oh,
sure. back
I've
in the
heard about that.
day.
They cut the bone and then you can gradually extend it a tiny bit at a time, because if you cut the leg bone and then move it slightly apart with like pins, the bone will mesh, thinking, oh, we're broken, we better grow some more bone. If you keep doing that, you can stretch your legs, but don't do it. It's
It
terrible.
was a thing back in the day. People were doing this, but it was fucking
You're
shit.
gonna look
wasn't
all
it?
out of proportion, though. It's not natural, right? Like the rest of your limbs are sort of like relatively long compared to the other
and then
ones.
you've got these fucking spidery long legs. Listen, this is
You're
not
gonna look like
for a chance
Slenderman.
to be on the first team of people landing on an alien world or something amazing. This is to be a fucking flight attendant.
Yeah, and you'll get
Come on.
paid like fucking $7 an hour to do it too.
Come
like
on,
Jesus.
Is it worth it? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Anyway, that concludes the mailbag. There's nothing else.
A woman called Emma Richards, was 17 in 2002, and she was 4'7". She had a surgery to extend her legs by 6 inches so she could reach the minimum requirement for being an air hostess.
6
and I just
inches
Googled her name.
is a lot.
I Googled her name. She's still working in cabin crew.
Well,
So
yeah,
20
but-
years later.
Well,
But
there
she's
you
the
go.
least steady person ever. Like, she's constantly falling over with those weirdo long legs.
Weirdo
Don't do
legs.
it. Don't do it.
Fucking hell.
She's fine, it turns out. They didn't just fucking do it in a workshop. They didn't just like, oh, stretch those legs out, darling. I have them lengthened in no time.
Stick a bit of pipe.
Got a bit of
Bit
old
of pipe
MDF
on
and
it.
piping around here. Could
Yeah.
use that as a bow.
Fucking hell.
So just a note about the mailbox. We did receive quite a number of emails. Too many of them were about strip clubs and about stories that I think are a little bit too lewd to read out.
Well, I mean, we do talk about
We
this
could
stuff
do like
a lot.
we could do like an after dark for next week,
they're
though,
properly
you know,
like.
something.
There was one about a lad who was having a dance in a small club,
Right.
And because they didn't have private rooms, they were all 6 of them sat in a row getting a private dance,
Right.
And
Oh,
the woman gyrated her fanny at him so hard it smacked him in the face, and he banged his head on the wall. And
I'm glad
everyone
you told
turned
me
to
this.
look.
I'm glad
Yeah,
you
and
told
I'm
me
just
this.
thinking, is that too much?
What do you mean
I mean,
everyone turned to look? Everyone was already looking. They were
No.
6 guys.
No, yeah, but they're
Well,
all looking at their own dance. Everyone's getting a private, quote unquote, private dance from a different
It's like a
dancer.
factory.
in a
Oh
row.
shit!
It's like an
wasn't
assembly
just
line
one in
of
Yeah.
striptease.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So that's
Oh,
some people
that.
maybe would pay extra to have their face ground into the wall by a woman's ass.
I'm sure they will.
Jesus.
But I'm just saying, you know. So there were a lot of other strip ones that A lot of the emails are much too long. I appreciate them. But they're
Look,
like paragraphs and
you're
paragraphs
going away
long.
for like 4 weeks, P-Flex. The longer the better.
Yeah, print some of these out and read them on the plane while you're traveling, and then
I don't think so. I've read them already.
Right.
Some of them are very long and not worth reading. Some of them are very long and they're good.
Thank you for sending them in, though. We appreciate
too many questions.
the effort.
Yeah, we love it.
Keep it short.
Keep it short.
Try
yeah.
to keep it. Brevity is the soul of wit. Let's work on some brevity.
Just 2 sentences. We're going to waffle about your story for a good half an hour anyway.
Yeah.
So
And
It doesn't need to be long. It just needs to spark a
good.
conversation. It can just be 3 words.
I'm not trying to be choosy. I'm just trying to give you guys advice about getting your email read out. If the first paragraph is you telling us how often you've listened to the podcast, all that, really appreciate that, but it's not getting read out, so don't bother typing it. Just say one for the mailbag and nice and concise story, blam. That improves your chances of being read tenfold.
Right.
If it's very long and wordy and you've added all jokes in, I'm ignoring it because it's just it's too complicated to read out.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you anyway. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week, everybody.
That's the Picky Mailbag episode 2.
Be good to one another. We love you. All right.
Bye.
Bye.